Second. All those in favor? Aye. Top item of none is all those in favor? Opposed? Motion. Next, we have of 15th. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? So moved. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carried. Now move to a period of public comment. Members of the public are invited to address the planning board. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions or take any action on items brought up during the public comment period. Speaker will address all the comments board as a whole and not one individual member. Discussions between speakers and members of the audience will not be allowed. Time limits are 3 minutes per person, 5 minutes per group. Please identify yourselves. Anybody that wishes to speak. Seeing no public comment, on to a period of new business. First item is a zoning permit application for landscape installation at 300 Queen Elizabeth Avenue. Additional background on that?
I will share, yes. I think they're having a microphone problem, so I'll wait for Jamie to get you situated. So, back in January, the Arts Council to us with an application for a land installment at the old courthouse. And Ms. Dawn and Ms. Babs are here tonight on behalf of the Arts Council for Dare Arts. Hard one too, unconditional. So these ladies are here tonight. They went to park in January, and there were a number of things that we talked about, including that they had proposed a planter, kind of where on the northwest side of the property adjacent to 108 Budley. They've removed that from their plans because at the time we had talked about it being a square planter and how that's kind of a blind corner and that might be a issue. So they removed that from their plans. They have switched out some annuals and replacing them with an alternative or perennials to assist so they are not planting every and then they have a pig from their original plans. And so Jamie, will you flip to this? There you go. So there is also, we had requested at Park for them to provide a planting schedule so that we knew the size of everything. So that we would know the size of everything that they plan to install. And so they have provided that to us as well. So staff would recommend zoning on it. Either of you ladies want to say anything?
Motion, recommend approval.
You all approve it.
Make a motion to approve the landscape plan installation for Walter Raleigh Street.
Is there a second?
Queen Elizabeth Avenue.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? On the motion. Order of business is the review of the Hotel Manteo Fire Tender Restaurant submittal plan for assume everybody can't look at it, do it. And Melissa, you want to go over the basic?
Woody, is this better? Okay. So we should start, little introduction. Hotel Manteo, the former Elizabeth Hotel, changed ownership, and they have been working to make a number of property, including a renovation to the restaurant space. At the proposed restaurant called Fire, so all of the site plans will also regarding this note the fire tender. That building permit not on the top of the file. It was written back August or September. Oh, maybe even sooner than that. August. So we have been working with their staff on a number of these things. Of course, the building is not conforming, so at any point that we've had an opportunity, we've tried to work to either lessen the nonconformity as the ordinance guides us to do, and also to improve life safety at the site. So there was the most recent inspection was gas line rough-in, a temporary gas line rough-in, and that was as recent as the 5th of March. So we have been there a lot and plan to be in the coming days. So we received, we've of course have been working with them on the building permit, which as a renovation staff had the authority to approve, and then back on February the 16th, I received a zoning permit application for changes to the parking lot. And of course, as the staff report notes, that is not in the zoning administrator's authority, but the planning board approves commercial parking lots. So there's quite a bit to unpack here. And I've got things separated kind of by zoning topic that I can go through as we dig into the details here. But I think at this point, we'll let, I think Erin was planning to present, we'll let her present as the applicant, and then I'll work through all of the comments and exchange of stuff that we've had. So I'll let Erin talk now.
All right, hello everybody. Thank you for your time tonight. Like Melissa said, we've been had time to the outside area. We actually have we're addressing areas patio. This is out on an administrative level. Have park to the that's there. So the biggest issues that we have out, I don't know if property in a little while, but there's parking lot and front entrance areas open up. It's got flooding issues last, but address it sort of hold. One is to address flooding, drainage, and the other is to address parking. So the plan that has to y'all, or actually was presented last week, shows us what kind of rip up existing, come in and put in a gravel drive aisle and parks. The should be noted that the existing ingress egress is. Are we able to look first? The site plan shows existing conditions out there. I just think it's important for everybody to see that right now there's sort of two. There's an like I said, ingress and egress coming into the property. They drive across the park in that. So if someone were and a lot to note about this. Like Melissa said, there's a lot to unpack. I don't know if we want to go section by section. I will note that gravel, because that is pervious, so we are reducing rock coverage on the property. Are addressing the drainage issues, bringing property the new revised entrance up to and I don't know if you go question. Answer. I can just stay here.
It looks like we're still missing some buffer on Highway 60. Across the vegetated buffer shown on the site plan. I'm looking at the one you sent last. Up behind you. I saw, what about along highways? Or post some of it property. Down along that area. Had a couple of trees. Nothing. Right, he's down there.
Well,
on the view.
Yeah, and I'll just say my understanding, and planner disagree or something. But if this is the site plan you submit, then this is what we would hold you to. And 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever goes down the road, and I say it's not up to standard, we'd pull your site plan and say, buffer, and this is what we would go back to. So if there's no buffer shown on there, then you would not be required to have that buffer. That's why this would replace, have multiple site plans. Look, well, there's a tree on this one, but not on this one, but then it's back on this one. It'll be one site plan. Obviously, especially with vegetative buffers, they rice happen, died, have planted. You don't remember what was supposed to be there, what's required to be there, what was originally there. So we go back to the site plans. That's our record. That's how there that is required.
If there's something there already,
we could show
pointed out as
existing. Okay.
I will note though that, and I think so get back up. 15.4 of the ordinance, which is the description of types of buffers. There are 4 types of buffers. There's a parking traffic buffer. There's an opaque screen buffer. There's a landscape fence opaque screen. And there's a natural screen. And then there is a setback buffer. So what you all have proposed along the drive aisle is what I'll say. So we're clear. That is the entrance from 64 on the restaurant side of the building, and that adjacent property line is a fence, and the ordinance requires a 6-foot wooden fence or masonry wall with landscaping covering 50% of the exterior side of the fence, with 2-inch caliber selected trees planted at least every 25 feet. So you achieve that opaque screen buffer when you turn down Jameson Lane, and I understand what you're saying, that you don't have the space to do both, but I wonder if you couldn't just continue, since you can't achieve the fence and the plantings, could you at least achieve the plantings, bring them around to that drive aisle, so that then that would at least be in compliance with the ordinance. And I don't know, I think it's the same difference there, which is when you're abutting a residence. An opaque screen buffer is intended to exclude completely all visual contact between use, and that's what we're trying to achieve, is that between the use of your site and the resident that is adjacent, that slide.
That main drive aisle,
Both. Like, you could just do the same. You don't have the space for the fence, and that 50% of it is covered, that you could just continue that same buffer that's along Jameson down the drive aisle.
And I think what Aaron was saying earlier, so just to qualify why, but what I'm hearing is that qualify. So
That's
yes, they would applicant.
Anybody have anything else? Melissa, were you ever able to catch up with Kevin about the fuel tank?
I was not. I tried to look up the code, and what Kevin had cited in his email for Strader specific to bollards. But I have notes later to get to that. So I'll come.
Okay.
John, just kind of reiterate what we said, during what I said. Without that already existing vegetation that is required to plan, that's like I say, plan, he either cut that or not. Happen. Required to have it.
Should be called out on the plan.
That's what I'm saying. That
There is a note that existing it's not called out on the plan, but it does say that existing vegetation is to remain as much. And, maybe I've seen this happen twice recently, is that maybe we suggest a condition that if that is to be changed out, that they come back for, if they are make any changes to that it along the corridor, they come back for a zoning permit, which is required anyway, but if we reiterate it, that might, have had situations where folks have gone in and clear cut and reinstalled it, not compliant. So I certainly rather invite the conversation before spend money for new plants that don't comply with it.
Got it as clarification on that requirement is that next park not sure what the requirement is at a park.
not. This is the second location proposed for the tank. It was located across the drive aisle, and there's a requirement, what I do know is there's a requirement that it has to be located from the property line, and that didn't meet code. So Fire Marshal Zork requested an alternative location with the bollard have detail on. Greater.
And not to speak, to summarize the conversation. The North Carolina Fire chart that he referenced, cited, I think, Pollard.
Got that
You're
covered.
good with just bollards on the side of the parking thing, in case nobody comes down the drive aisle and it's off the road, off the gravel a little. That side of the tank is totally exposed. Bollard there or not.
Thank
Yeah, so Fire Marshal Zork is but knew that we're getting up against unavailability last. So that's why in my staff report I noted the things that start on my but figured. Sure. So I'll review, kind of his notes, and then what I know. So, talked about the LPA required minimum of 10 from other supported property lines, and that it proposed for the property that barricades must comply with fire section 301. So staff acknowledged that moved it. Kevin has not confirmed that is or location for bollard plant. So Schrader did respond that note that and acknowledged it and then it so back. Fire Marshal
Because
Zork.
My only concern is I've seen people do some pretty strange parking and with that side of the tank totally exposed there where the arrow is coming down pointing. Might need
Yeah.
nobody backs into it or anything.
So the next comment he had was to ensure all fire lanes have unobstructed width of 20 and a vertical clearance of 30. And they have, I think the second version of the site plan, they made that adjustment and version. Yeah. Mr. Zork's next comment was to ensure all turn radius standards for the Roanoke Island Fire Department are met for all turns. Now, the only one that is changing is the one on the north side of the property, which is the restaurant side of the building, and they have met both on both sides of the north side and the south side of that driveway entrance. They have met that radius. So I know that. And then ensure that the proposed roadway design is an all-weather surface support the imposed loads of a fire apparatus of 80,000 pounds. There's a note on the
says proposed heavy-duty gravel, but really no definition of that. I mean, it'd be
I think it's in
compacted.
the notes section of the site plan. Yeah,
That is compacted.
and they do meet that.
Okay.
It's not shown on this, but I have seen it. I believe. I've seen a lot. And then the proposed designated fire lane marking fire lane every 75, 20 parallel lines throughout the Hotel Mania site. And Mr. Schrader's note here, it says that they are noted.
So, gravel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Delineated
paint
very
it,
well.
can't paint it on
He's
the road.
okay.
Oh, there it is. I see. Yeah. Okay. That is one that I missed earlier, but it's at the fire lane, so that folks along
Because they-
don't
they
park, they
Can't,
park
they can't paint the
parallel
markings on the road.
and achieve that
On the gravel.
width required for a I'm just doing my note regarding fire stuff, just to make sure, since we're on this topic, that I cover.
I feel like the gentleman here understands and he's addressed it better than me. I just want to make sure that Kevin Zork has the final back and it's like, no, that's not what I meant. Don't tell him, too bad, the planning board approved it.
there any curbing along that gravel?
No, sir, there's not like a concrete ribbon or anything proposed along the edge of the gravel, just the concrete apron that limits the paved surface.
If they just, this is a question for you, so I'll show Mike. If they decide to pave that gravel at some point in the future, would have to come back and, kind of, where is it?
I don't ordinance to me though. Do you have anything?
I don't, I just wanted to be able to answer any questions, and I know that we've already.
Yes.
Wanted-
Okay. So I parsed out some of the information that we have regarding these things, and I want to make these notes so that it's clear. The note 9 on the site plan has been updated to require 126 spaces. And I should note version 4 isn't version 4, which was the one received yesterday. There was an exchange with the town attorney regarding the spaces that are located not within the town zoning jurisdiction, but in Dare County, as those were counted towards the site plan. And originally, the use of the back building that's located in Dare County was not in that calculation. So I reached out to Mr. Gillum, who is the county planner, and at the suggestion of the town attorney, to confirm what their parking calculation is, and their requirement is 1.5 spaces for every room. And so when I did my review, I went in and calculated that as part of the use of the entire site, as town attorney Gallup suggested, to get to the total of 126. Now, of course, there are 144 spaces provided, so they do exceed the requirement. But I feel like because there are different versions of the site plan, it's important to explain why it's different, and note that note has been up to the site plan. So discuss buffer. I'll also go back. I should note this different as well. Regarding parking and sewer calculations, there have been two different numbers regarding the amount of seats in the restaurant. One was 86 seats, and the other was 109, noted on the site plan. I think that we've reached a resolution that it's 109. And so we've cleared that up, but there was that discrepancy, and I want to note that because if somebody looks at this agenda packet and they see this site and doesn't jive, I want the minutes to at least explain that. Okay. So it was noted that on the exterior adjacent driveway, there will be a patio. I'm going to dig into that quite a bit more towards the end of my file of notes here. But I want to note that they applied for a separate zoning permit for that, and staff wanted to ensure that the number of seats, we clarified that before issuing that permit, because that also impacts.
190.
Yeah. Yes, and so we felt like it was important because the patio is fenced, and later I will share with you from Chris Nason, architect, did a rest formula for them. So, but I wanted to know, wanted that clarification for approving patio, because moving target. So the next note is sewer, that I noted in my staff report, and Mr. Strader provided yesterday an updated calculation that includes the total of the 109 seats. And I note that in my staff report, the town adopts the state flow rate table, but differ from that rate when it comes to restaurant seats. So the state table calls for 40 gallons per day per seat, and the town is calculated at 15 gallons per day per seat, which is a benefit and an incentive to restaurants in town. So I want to note that Mr. Strader's is based on 40, but we can work on getting that updated. I wanted to note that as well. That's correct. And that's a longstanding incentive that the town offers. So we'll get that one up to bid. The next note that I had in my staff report was that just acknowledging that we know that this is a and we appreciate the staff work with us installing buffers where there haven't been them historically, and work to bring the building into compliance as much as possible. It is difficult because we know that the building is in the the front of the building is inside the building front setback. So as long as the nonconformity will exist, but they're not increasing any and they wouldn't be. Fire. Okay. The next topic I have is signage, and I clarified today. So back in November, their staff reached out to me regarding the signage, and today they confirmed for me that the exterior signage has not been decided upon yet. And so they will provide a separate application for signage in the near future. Transportation. So it was noted that there are some stormwater issues. There's an existing connection on the site to the system, as I do with applications that include that kind of thing. I sent the plans to Ms. Spear, who's the district engineer of Division 1, and she did respond to said having a moment to evaluate the proposed work, an encroachment agreement will be needed for the installation of curb and gutter as well as storm drainage infrastructure located in the right-of-way. However, in general, there are no exceptions taken. And since she sent me that email, the applicant has shared their act that presented. So, and then this is a note that I'd like to note too. The patio, together. The patio has a fence around it, a black iron fence, and originally in the first version it had gates, and those have since been removed at the recommendation of Mr. Nason when he did gate. So it was enclosed completely, and yeah. So Mr. Nason shared that the 108.7 up is 109, and all second floor restaurant occupants all pass through the patio to get clear of the building in the event of a fire. Then the maximum total number of occupants progressing through there would be no more than 278.89 occupants. Typical code analysis, we traditionally size the doors assuming half of the occupants go to each door openings. He's being super conservative here to show that we have more than enough width of openings. Based on 279 occupants, we would require 55.8 inches of openings within the patio. The owner is proposing two 48-inch wide openings for a total of 96 inches. It far exceeds the code in the most conservative interpretation. In the current patio design, the openings are placed at opposite ends for maximum safety, and he has recommended to the owner that no gates or impediments be put on the patio for the patio openings for easy egress in the event of a fire. And the applicant has a they've removed them on the plan. The next comment that I wanted to make. They did provide a structural analysis of the stairs that access the second floor. So I wanted to note that we've got that from anyway. So the second use of the second floor have been querying folks about. There is storage, small kitchen, and bathroom. So we've had discussions about that area, and it's we understand that there is some work done up there, and so that is not part of this phase of the renovation that it'll have. But I did want to note that they did have a look at those stairs that provide egress from that area. And I'm almost finished. I did that. I think I did this. Finally, we know that they are on our inspection schedule for next Tuesday. They are hoping that they will have their final inspection of the restaurant. So there's a I don't know, maybe a potential conflict in that, like the patio is going to be being built at the same time. So we have a concern that those egress points won't be accessible while the patio is being built. So there's going to be some kind of conversation that we will have to have if this work does get approved tonight, the driveway by you all and then the patio. If a CO is offered, it's tricky because we know that the two main entrances to the restaurant will be blocked. So just ahead of the meeting, I was working through that scenario with the town attorney, and we'll continue to figure that out. Either way. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. What we're going to need to do, does anybody have any comments in addition to what Melissa just had that they want to make? Randy, Jamie, Fields?
Just a question of, we're just approving, correct me if I'm wrong, just the parking lot tonight.
patio.
They want to get a CO on the restaurant Tuesday? They're going to have the parking lot done in 6 days?
Well, CO doesn't mean we're open. There are some operations that will need to be done, training, test kitchens, things of that nature. So there's still operational things that'll have to be done once the CO is issued.
Are there levels on CO? Like once they get the CO, they're ready to go, right? Okay.
What conditions do we need to attach to potential approval of the parking lot?
So staff would recommend, oh, I have this in my staff report too. I just want to make sure that my staff report and this, okay. I just want to make sure that the things that I had recommended as conditions, the discrepancy, that's been fixed. Okay. Number 3. So the first condition that you all have discussed tonight would be a buffer along the drive aisle, I think instead of the proposed fence.
Correct.
And that it be the same as the buffer along Jamison Lane. And then number 2 would be to add existing landscaping and require zoning permit for any changes to landscaping in the corridor, which is similar to the condition I recommended in my staff report that said any work to be conducted in the Roanoke Voyages corridor must have prior approval from the town manager. Maybe one day that'll be a town planner. But, so those 2 kind of work hand in hand with one another. Number 3 in the staff report and number 3 in my handwritten notes are that approval of the site plan by Fire Marshal Zork. We think that they are there, but we'd like him to confirm that.
Just want it verified.
And then number 4 would be that the sewer calculation letter be updated. And Mr. Strader nodded that he would work with me on that.
Can you show the definition for number 2 again?
And then I think number 5 would be prohibited occupancy of the second floor until further review, approval, and a CO is offered on the second floor. And that would be number 5. And those are the conditions I would
Right.
recommend.
Did you have something else, Jamie?
I was just going to go back to the sewer calculations.
Right.
If I'm reading that right, then the patio seating,
Yeah,
as long as it's not
seating in
heated,
unheated space is
would
not
not count in the
in the
calculation.
calculation. Yep.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, it's right in there.
I might have a personal interest in that number.
Seating out on the deck.
Might have a little deck project myself going, that's why.
Okay, does somebody want to attempt a motion after they borrow the list of conditions from Melissa?
Sure. Well, I make a motion to approve with the conditions that Melissa read previously.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries.
Thank you all.
Okay, next item on the agenda.
I don't have an agenda. I'm looking at the agenda.
Right here. Hang on, the agenda's coming right back up on the screen. Too far. Okay. Discussion and consideration of permit requirements for utility work in the town of Manteo town limits.
I promise to make this quick. We've had quite a bit of underground utility work, communication installations happening.
Fiber optic cable.
Yes, recently, and while the corridor rules require a certificate of appropriateness, our town ordinances do not require any kind of encroachment permit or any kind of permit for them to do the work. So we often have no heads up that this is happening. DOT requires an encroachment permit that I learned last week prohibits that work being done within 10 feet of their assets. So along the highway, underneath the sidewalk is our sewer line, and then adjacent to that is the stormwater line. And recently, an underground construction company hit two sewer laterals that we had not marked because we didn't know that they were there. Over time, things get buried, and they were really deep, so they didn't pop when we took the machine through there. But also DOT, it went directly under a DOT stormwater box, which was not a 10-foot separation. And so I learned last week that they have this requirement, that they require a permit, and I think that it may be a good practice for us to include in our ordinances. And so just to share the results of that kind of thing happening, when our sewer laterals failed, and I don't have any evidence that it also hit the stormwater box. It was old, but it could have potentially caused that compromise as well. But when that happened and the stormwater box failed on top of two sewer laterals, we received an inflow of 250,000 gallons of stormwater into our sewer system last week. And so to think that we may be able to sit at a table and explain to folks that are doing this kind of work how to avoid our infrastructure seems like it would be really beneficial for us to require that. And so we are, those flows have us in a situation where at day 12 in March, not even halfway through the month, we are at 84% capacity. So that's kind of the real impact that kind of thing can have on our system. And so I just want to note that because we're always talking about capacity, and usually we operate around 53%. And on day 12 in March of 2004.
A whole lot of extra water going through the system that doesn't belong in it.
Yeah, and so that's just from a capacity standpoint, but what that also could do to our biological limits at the plant has yet to be seen. So we have all those limits that we must stay under, and there is potential, there's potential that there could be violations because of this month. So, but we have a problem, and I think there's a solution, which is at least to sit at a table before people start doing that kind of work, so that they know what kind of utilities are exactly in the near area where they're operating.
So basically, we need to just construct an ordinance that states that if you're doing any utility work within the town limits, you need to come get a permit.
Yes, and I have reached out to Ms. Spear at DOT to ask her if she's got a template of the agreement that she uses, because it sounds like they've got some really good language in that. So I asked for that on Friday. When I get that back, I'll send it around to you all. I think that's a decent starting place. And then, of course, usually we look at what other towns do too. So I'll take a look and see what makes sense, especially because we are unique in that to Dare County, that we have our own municipal sewer system. So we might need to look at other areas that do rather than just locally too.
Oh, yeah. Towns that actually have a sewer system. Because the problem with that water going in there, aside from, capacity and possibly getting fined by the state for that, is, like you were mentioning, it just screws up the biological aspect of the bacteria that's supposed to eat up the nasty stuff.
That's
Too much fresh water in there. So I guess we will address that at a future meeting when you round up all the information on it.
Yes, I've requested it, and so that's where I'll start, and then we'll continue to talk about it and move forward.
Okay?
I'm in favor.
Definitely would like to move forward with that.
Yep. Okay, we'll move on to a period of board member comments. Jamie?
Not really, I was gonna say, looking forward to see this. This is exciting to have some new stuff in Manteo, but I was gonna ask you, do you remember when that was built originally? They said they started talking about how it's a non-compliant, too close to the road, but it was there before the road, wasn't it? Yeah, and they kept saying it's a non-compliant this and that, and it's run down. It's like, I remember it when I was a kid, and it was, yep. Y'all have changed. Which is, yeah. So was that your family that built that one, huh?
Yeah, that's what, so, yes.
I have memories of going there as a kid, too, yeah.
Still have the drawings stashed away somewhere?
So y'all have been here through all the changes in the town when it was the highway going from 2 lanes to 3 lanes and the corridor coming, all that stuff. And there's a couple places in town like that, Manteo Marine, that they call them non-conformities and all this, but it's like, y'all changed the rules on you, didn't we?
Well, that too. It still isn't.
Yeah, that back building's in unincorporated Dare County.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring it up when you're talking about the non-conformities and the things, that these things they weren't built that way. We changed the rules on them over the years, over the last 70-some years. Yeah. Yeah, 70, yeah.
You have anything, Fields?
No, I'm done. Literally.
Randy?
Yeah.
No.
This is my last one.
My only comment is we're gonna miss you, buddy. Moving out of town.
Get hired around.
Well, the good news is we might act you.
I still got to go through it.
You never know. They live there long enough.
Do I have if there's no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Is there a
I'll second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 We'll go down there and annex you.
Meeting's adjourned.